33rd. In the early modern era, Europe was a continent marked by chaos, bloodshed, and instability. Kingdoms fought incessantly, borders shifted with the outcomes of battles, and ordinary citizens often bore the brunt of political and religious conflicts. The 30 Years' War, the Wars of Succession, and constant local skirmishes left towns devastated, economies in disarray, and populations struggling to survive. In stark contrast, at the same time, Ottoman cities, from Istanbul and Edirne to Damascus and Cairo, offered a strikingly different reality. These urban centers were not only thriving hubs of commerce and culture, but also islands of stability and peace in a turbulent world. Ottoman urban life in the 16th and 17th centuries was built on a foundation of law, order, and administrative efficiency. Unlike many European cities frequently devastated by invading armies or internal rebellion, Ottoman cities maintained security through a combination of centralized governance and local oversight. The Sultan's authority, enforced through provincial governors and judicial officials, ensured that disputes were adjudicated fairly, taxes were collected systematically, and civic infrastructure was maintained. Citizens could go about their daily lives with confidence that their markets, homes, and families were protected. Trade formed the lifeblood of Ottoman urban prosperity. Cities like Istanbul, the imperial capital, were at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, connecting merchants, travelers, and diplomats from across continents. Caravan routes from the Middle East, spice trade from India, silk from China, and goods from North Africa all converged in Ottoman markets. Streets bustled with traders offering spices, textiles, precious metals, and crafted goods. Inns and caravanserais provided shelter for merchants, and regulations ensured fair practices in commerce. The result was not only economic wealth, but also a cosmopolitan society where different cultures, religions, and languages coexisted and interacted peacefully. Religious diversity was another cornerstone of Ottoman urban life. While Europe was embroiled in wars fueled by the Protestant Reformation, Catholic Protestant tensions, and sectarian disputes, the Ottoman Empire implemented a sophisticated system to manage multiple faiths. Known as the millet system, this policy allowed Christian, Jewish, and other communities to govern personal and religious matters independently. Religious leaders were responsible for schools, courts, and places of worship within their communities, while the imperial authorities provided overarching legal protection and security. This system reduced friction and allowed cities to flourish socially and culturally in ways largely unseen in war-torn Europe. Public infrastructure in Ottoman cities was remarkably advanced for the time. Roads, bridges, aqueducts, and public fountains were constructed and maintained, ensuring that commerce and daily life could function smoothly. Sewage and sanitation systems, although primitive by modern standards, were far ahead of many contemporary European cities, contributing to lower rates of urban disease and higher quality of life. Mosques, madrasas, hospitals, and markets were central features of city planning, blending spiritual, educational, and economic functions into cohesive urban spaces. Citizens had access to education, healthcare, and places of worship, fostering a sense of stability and belonging. Cultural life in Ottoman cities further reflected this environment of peace and prosperity. Artistic production thrived, including architecture, calligraphy, music, and literature. The grand mosques of Istanbul and Cairo were not only centers of worship, but also symbols of civic pride, patronized by sultans and wealthy citizens alike. Public baths, gardens, and squares served as social hubs where people of different backgrounds interacted. European travelers repeatedly noted the vibrancy, cleanliness, and order of Ottoman urban life, often comparing it favorably to European cities plagued by war, famine, and unrest. Even the administration of justice contributed to urban stability. The Sultan's court and local judges enforced laws consistently, adjudicating disputes over property, contracts, and criminal matters. Citizens could appeal decisions, and officials who abused their power were subject to removal or punishment. This predictability and fairness created trust in governance, reducing the likelihood of rebellion or social unrest, a stark contrast to European cities where arbitrary taxation, feudal oppression, and military occupation often led to riots and revolts. Population growth in Ottoman cities also reflected this stability. While European cities were sometimes depopulated by war, plague, or famine, Cities under Ottoman rule attracted migrants seeking safety, employment, and opportunity. Farmers moved to urban centers during winter months to sell crops, artisans found steady work in thriving workshops, and merchants settled in key trade hubs. The result was a dynamic urban society that balanced economic opportunity with social cohesion. Ottoman cities also benefited from strategic geographic locations and security measures that ensured long term prosperity. Fortifications, garrisons, and naval patrols protected major ports and trade routes. Piracy, banditry, and external threats were actively managed, allowing commerce to flourish without constant disruption. Meanwhile, Europe was often unable to protect its cities from marauding armies, shifting alliances, and religiously motivated attacks, leaving urban centers vulnerable to destruction and depopulation. Education and intellectual life thrived alongside economic and social stability. Madrasas and libraries were abundant in cities such as Istanbul, Edirne, and Aleppo, providing learning in religious sciences, mathematics, astronomy, and literature. Scholars from across the empire and beyond were drawn to these centers of knowledge, creating vibrant intellectual communities. By contrast, much of Europe's scholarly and cultural life was disrupted by warfare, limiting the spread of ideas and innovation in many regions. While peace and prosperity defined Ottoman cities, this was not the result of an absence of governance or military strength. Rather, it reflected a carefully managed balance of authority, law, and social contract. The Sultan's representatives ensured that taxes were collected efficiently without overburdening citizens, that markets operated fairly, and that communities had access to justice. By combining military capability with civil administration, the Ottomans created cities where commerce, culture, and civic life could flourish despite the challenges of the wider world. The contrast between European and Ottoman urban life was particularly evident during periods of intense conflict in Europe. Wars such as the 30 Years' War devastated cities like Prague, Magdeburg, and Vienna, leaving behind ruins, famine, and chaos. Meanwhile, cities like Istanbul, Edirne, and Thessaloniki maintained orderly markets, functioning schools, active trade networks, and vibrant cultural life. This stability attracted merchants, diplomats, and scholars, reinforcing the perception that Ottoman cities were safe havens in a continent otherwise consumed by warfare. Furthermore, the Ottoman system of governance was designed to be adaptive. Local leaders were granted authority to manage day-to-day affairs, while the central government focused on law, taxation, and defense. This decentralized structure allowed cities to respond quickly to crises such as floods, fires, or disease outbreaks, minimizing disruption and maintaining social order. European cities, often governed by fragmented authorities or warlords, lacked comparable coordination, exacerbating the impact of conflicts. Even in the realm of diplomacy and foreign relations, Ottoman cities played a central role in projecting peace and stability. Embassies, consulates, and trade missions operated smoothly, facilitating dialogue and commerce across continents. European merchants and envoys often preferred to conduct business in Ottoman cities precisely because of the predictable legal and administrative framework, a testament to the empire's reputation for governance and justice. In conclusion, the thriving and peaceful nature of Ottoman cities during a time when Europe was engulfed in war demonstrates the unique combination of law, governance, and social cohesion that characterized the empire. Citizens enjoyed safety, economic opportunity, education, and cultural life, all supported by an administration that balanced authority with justice. Markets, roads, religious institutions, and public services contributed to a quality of life unmatched by many contemporary European cities. The Ottoman example shows that stability and prosperity are not merely the product of military conquest, but the result of deliberate governance, adherence to justice, and careful management of diverse societies. By examining this period, we gain a clearer understanding of how empires can endure and prosper when citizens trust their rulers to act fairly and maintain order. While Europe struggled with constant warfare, Ottoman cities stood as proof that peace, justice, and governance could coexist, creating thriving urban centers that would influence culture, commerce, and politics for centuries to come. This contrast between European turmoil and Ottoman stability offers invaluable lessons for understanding the dynamics of power, society, and civilization in the early modern world.